I will go ahead and start doing a quotation based on the system pump and conditions. Notice the project name is Workspace. I have not changed it yet. And I'm using the world side for the IEC metric. Because for the world, for the international, for the most part, it requires an IEC flange adapters. And sometimes it requires just an FA adapters to mount the 56C frame. And we'll get to that on the differentiation. So first we do a pump search. And let's say we do, let's do amine, one of the chemical selections. And you notice the naming in here. This is the liquid for the chemical applications, and the temperatures, the viscosity of the liquids. Keep notes that our 500 series and 600 series is the viscosity up to 1,000. Anything other than that, up to 5,000, you will need to go to the higher viscosity pump. But we'll get you into the technical aspect of that the next following week in the webinar. And let's say the flow rate, you can change the flow rate from gallon per hour to a liter per hour. So let's say for this exercise, based on the customer's request or project documentation, they would like to have 10 liter per hour. And so instead of PSI, they provide us with a bar measurement. So let's say, you know what, they have a 10 bar requirement. So based on their means, and then the motor, you could select that between the 60 hertz or the 50 hertz, depending where the customer's requirement is. So from here, you could select the material, the welded material. You have the stainless steel, PTFE, and keep in mind that the Viton O-ring in here have a D rating, meaning that D is not compatible. So you select that, we change that to PTFE. Okay, from this section, then you go ahead and hit search. Okay, you have a various of pump curve right on in here. So the pump curve, it will be different size of the thumbnail, and as well as the product series, the model, the connections, whether or not it's the half NPT or the 3/4 NPT, the speed, the stroke per minute, the flow rate. This is the field that we entered in. The percentages of stroke, meaning that at 10 gallon per hour, 10 gallon liter per hour, it is at 80% flow rate of this particular pump. The requirement of the motor and the price index. This price index is just an indicator, not so much of the price list. So based on here, depending what the range is, normally for me, when I look at into the pump curve, I'll look at the one that have a higher range, where the maximums at the higher end of it is because it will provide me a better range. Again, it depends on the range, the minimum and the maximum of the customer's criteria. Okay, so from here, this is the requirement. This is the pump curve. So it has at 10 liter, it is at 80%. So you have right here at 10 liter, it's 80% at the setting of the control knob. Okay. Now the difference between, I think most of us in our attendee, we are, you have a sign on to the company to choice, meaning have an additional right. But if there's an end user, you do not have a quote item, you have a quote request. Now that request will be coming to us, and we'll go ahead and assist that further on how to quote your particular requirement. So from here, we'll go ahead to quote item. Now in the quote item, we'll go to configuration site. Now notice one thing, as part of the RFQ that we see before is, before we kind of get further into all this drop down, notice the RTF. This RTF is referred to factory. So whenever you see this RTF, you notice that the quote managers or the show quote, there are grayed out, meaning it is not available for us to proceed further. And then one thing that we noticed, this motor with IEC, a third horsepower, and it's single phase. With the single phase, we do not have this motor available in a single phase because for the most part, for the international, they need to have a higher voltage. So if you change that to a three-phase, then you'll notice the price. We have the motor available for the three-phase motor, and it meets the requirement for most international voltage of 220 to 440 voltage, 50 hertz. This is TEFC. Okay, so we have, so going back to the drop-down menu that we have the standard PTFE. Again, you could select that with the double diaphragm, if you like, or you could change that to what kind of oil you like, whether it's feather oil or food grade oil. You'll also change the stroke. But just for this exercise in here, I'm just going to change this lifting is as is, just keeping it standard. And I'll go ahead the show quotes. Now in the show quote in here, you see just the list price of the particular what we're quoting. So in the configurations, we'll go ahead, go to a quote manager. Now in the quote managers, you have options. This is one key thing that I like about Choice. You could select the configured pump, which is all the selections that we did. We could select the brochure. You could select the data sheet. Note the pump drawing. Not all the pump drawing we have in here. However, the pump drawing is also embedded into the model brochure. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you don't see this, but it's available in the model brochure. Now notice that also this project is still under workspace. So when you hit this general package PDF, when you're trying to bundle this file together, you notice that Choice was asking you, said, please save your project before you quote. So it required you to save this project. So you could save the project in the beginning before we start or afterward. So at this point, you hit click OK. So from here, we'll go ahead and save the name of the project. Let's say right now we're doing a demo 05/13/2020. If you have a quote name, then you could enter the quote name, whether or not, for example, it's RFQ 123456. You could put the bid name. You could put the customer information. The more information that you put in here, it'll kind of help you to manage your project or your quotes. Let's say we have, I just have this in here, 123 pump, and the companies, we have Mr. ABC. The city is located, I'm not sure, let's say Jakarta, and the countries, I have it in Indonesia. Did I miss it? Yes, there you go. Okay, save. So from here, you could go ahead and generate the package. And you have also other options if you'd like to have the brochure or the back pressure to be part of your data sheet.